Welcome, everyone, to Liberty Talk Radio's University of Logic, better known as Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversation. I'm your host, Joe Cristiano, a.k.a. America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly in talk radio, broadcasting from our studio in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to around the world. This broadcast is being brought to you live on Thursday morning, September 25th, 2014. It is now 6:31 a.m. Central Time. My gosh, is it early? I hope you're up and listening. All right, folks, it's time for us to take back control of our government. Now, before this bureaucratic, oversized, and self-serving federal government starves us of our property, our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. To do this, we must shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. Only after we recognize what our government is doing to our freedom and our Constitution will we start taking it back. And this program is just about that. Well, good morning, everyone. During our live broadcast, we invite you to call toll-free 888-773-4496. Send us your emails anytime, obviously, to comments at libertytalkradio.com. This morning, I want to encourage everyone to, if they have any economic questions or questions about where they should place their money, what they should do with their money, I really recommend, that you call Andy Sutton. He's our guest on the third Wednesday of every month. All right? And he's an economist in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And he doesn't sell mutual funds. He gives guidance on economic affairs and financial affairs. And he can be reached at sutton-associates.net. Now, believe it or not, he is not a sponsor of this program. I mean, he's an advocate of this program, but I'm not even getting paid to say this. All right, that's how much I believe in this man. And go to his website anyway. He has some excellent blogs that you really should read. Also, for your daily commentary on current events, go to Paul Jacobs' Common Sense. This is commonsense.com. And I want to remind everybody that we're on TuneIn and Liberty Express Radio. They broadcast our retakes, on our tapes of it. And also you can follow us on Twitter at LibertyJoe. Lastly, I'd like to remind our listeners to subscribe to our reminder service by visiting our website and clicking on the subscribe icon. Well, that's a lot. That's a mouthful for early in the morning. But folks, I want to clarify something about ISIS. We're going to talk about several subjects today, but ISIS is one I like to start with because it's starting to get underneath my skin. What our government does through our media. I mean, you want to call it media, you want to call it the broadcasting. It's like Goebbels and his German counterpart, the Nazi, propaganda machine. There's no difference, by the way. But they say ISIS. I want to make a bet with anyone in the United States, that if they stop people on the street and say, who is ISIS? How many people do you think would actually be able to answer that question? Now they say, well, they're a terrorist group, man. They're terrorist people, and they go around killing and beheading people. And we got to do we got to do something about it to stop them, or else they're gonna come here and do the same thing to us. People don't even say, what does ISIS stand for? And I'll bet you will have difficulty getting 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 people to tell you what that stands for. And then the president says, ISIL, I-S-I-L. And now how many people do you think know the difference between ISIS and ISIL? I'll bet you know it. Now they're saying IS. Now, let me give you a quick rundown. ISIS is the Islamic State of Iran and Syria. All right. Now, ISIL is the Islamic State of Iraq, rather. I said Iran. I meant Iraq. Iraq and Levant. Now, Levant is a word that has been translated from Arabic, which has really no strict translation, but loosely interpreted, it means the area of the Middle East, where Iraq is, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, that area, that's Levant, that's ISIL. Now, actually, the president was correct when he referred to ISIS as ISIS as ISIL, because we really are talking about the Middle East, not just those two nation states. Now, IS is just an abbreviation, means the Islamic State. So we use these terms, but we use them very loosely. Now, that's just a definition. We're not even there yet. But just think for a second, what is ISIL or ISIS or IS? And yet, most people will say they're a bunch of terrorists. Just yesterday, I saw a film of the bombing of in Syria. Now, do you know that one smart bomb cost over $1 million? Now, I assume, and it's an assumption, that we are using a proportion of our bombing is smart bombing, if not all of it. Because if we didn't, the bomb would go willy-nilly, approximately somewhere and kill too many civilians. But as it is now, even with smart bombs, we are killing civilians. Now, what bothers me is this, is that our Constitution states very clearly that someone is innocent until proven guilty. Anyone is innocent of any crime until proven guilty. Now, just think about this for a second. Is ISIS or ISIL or ICE, is that an army, a nation state against the United States? Are they attacking us? Now, they say they're going to attack us, but I can say, hey, man, I'll punch you in the nose. Now, if I say that to somebody, leave me alone or I'll punch you in the nose, can I go to jail? Will they put me in jail and say, well, you were going to punch this guy in the nose, you're going to get 5 years of hard prison time? Well, of course not. Well, even if I could get prison time for indicating that, leave me alone or I'll punch you in the nose type thing, they'd have to prove it in a court of law. So you see, our president decimates the Constitution, the very rights, human. And when I say the Constitution, I don't even like to reference the Constitution. I'd rather reference natural law. And natural law says that you're not guilty. No one's guilty of anything unless they've been proven guilty of something and it violates natural law. And no one could say that. Because when we throw a bomb or a smart bomb on someone, inflicted on someone, I should say, right, that these people have not been proven guilty. Now they say, oh, this is the headquarters of. Well, how often is our government incorrect? Unfortunately, if we go back, and we don't have enough time to even go through the highlights of the number of times our government has screwed things up. A la the Obamacare website, $600 million and still doesn't work right. I mean, do we know how to screw things up? You bet we do. Now, if we were absolutely perfect and had this sixth sense or something where we knew everything, you could make some sort of argument. But when we have a government which is basically incorrect, 90%, probably almost 100% of the time, and they say they have a smart bomb that's going to attack the headquarters and kill, by the way, only those who are guilty. Now, when we say that, when we say guilty, guilty of what? Well, guilty of conspiring against the United States or planning to bomb the United States. How do you know in that building all those people? Okay, there may be an office building in there. There may be there may be a cleaning lady in there, or cleaning man in there. Excuse me. There may be people who just work there. The secretaries, analysts. They're not terrorists. But in order to execute someone, you have to prove that first. You have to prove that in a court of law. You can't say, well, we have enough evidence. Well, if you have enough evidence, then bring them to court. Now, we can't bring them to court because they're in a sovereign country. Now, listen, they're in a sovereign country. We just can't go in and arrest someone because they are in a sovereign country, right? And we cannot violate their sovereignty. Now, everyone would agree with that. But at the same time, we say we understand that, but it is okay not to arrest somebody in another country. We know we can't do that. So what we'll do is we'll just fly a jet plane over where the person is living or working and throw down a smart bomb, all right? Hope that the person is there, hope we have the right place, and if we kill 10, 20, or 30 people at the same time, well, that's collateral damage. Now, I'm not sure about you, but I am going progressively nuts because everything that we are doing is wrong. We're not doing a damn thing right. And we're doing everything against our Constitution, against natural law, and against just basic human nature. We have smart bombs. You know what? We may have smart bombs, but we have dumb people leading us. Now, that bomb could be smart, but the person pushing the button or giving the instructions to press the button, because the soldier, the poor sucker that has agreed to press that button should have his head examined too. But he's been so indoctrinated in our government school system whereby we do everything right and the rest of the world is bad that he presses the button with impunity. He feels great about it. He says, I'm serving my country. Now, all of that and any part of that should drive you nuts. You should be walking the streets now like a babbling idiot talking to yourself. Because that's what I do now. I have not watched the news in months. Not the regular news I don't watch. Because I can't stand listening to these clowns. Here you have people making literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They're famous news, and they repeat this stuff. You think one would have the decency to say, this makes no damn sense at all, I'm not saying it. But everyone's profiting by it, and we are paying for it, because every bomb that goes down costs a fortune. Now, when I say $1 million, I mean that's just the bomb. What about the airplane, the fuel, the aircraft carrier? That one bomb, if you fully costed a one bomb bombing, smart bomb bombing, I'll bet you can come up with cost of billions of dollars. Now, these guys, the ISIS guys, the real bad guys, what they have is AK-47s. Primarily, maybe AR-15, Kalashnikov, rather, Now, AK-47, quite frankly, is a fabulous gun. I own one. Fabulous. I think it's the one I got was made in Czechoslovakia or something. Costs only a couple $100. Now they get it for nothing. They probably get it for free, or they get it from some in Afghanistan. They actually make their own. Let's assume it cost them $100 if it costs that much. Well, a guy's a weapon for $100, and we're spending $1 billion. How long do you think this is going to last? Is this not total insanity? We want to know why we have nearly now $18 trillion of current year's debt? Now, someone's got to tell me, Joe, you're missing something. You have it all wrong. But all of this, everything I have just said, pales in comparison, absolutely pales in comparison to the reason why there's such a thing as ISIL, ISIS, or ICE. You think they get up in the morning, these people, who are trying to keep their families together, find enough income to feed their families? You think they get up, and the first thing on their mind is, man, I hate America's freedom. We got to kill Americans. No, there is always a reason, folks, and what you hear on TV is not the reason. They don't want to harm us. They do not want to retaliate because they hate our freedom. They want to retaliate because we have been killing them for years. Could you imagine for one moment if a ISIS jet plane flew over the United States and initiated a smart bomb on one of our headquarters? There would be nuclear war, within seconds. Once. We've been doing this for decades. You think they're not hacked off? I contend that if they did to us what we do to them, that every American would have a black flag and an armband and a headband. We would make ISIS look like a bunch of Wheaties. That's how arrogant we would be, retaliatory we would be. So, folks, we have to really sit down someday and think, something that we haven't been able to do in a long time, because we're too busy watching Dancing with the Stars and cheering and yelling and screaming. My wife had that on the other day, and I was watching it, and they had some really talented people on there. But you know what bothered me? Everybody was screaming. A person would come out, the audience would go so nuts. You know, hell, I've been to symphonies with famous orchestras. You applaud, but you don't go crazy. And here there are no-name nobodies who sing a song, and people are going, like they're expending the last energy calorie in their body is being expended. I couldn't stand listening to it because everyone was just yelling and screaming and just applauding constantly. And I said, these people are mindless. And we become so mindless, we cannot even see what's in front of us. And the president last week when he made that presentation, to the worst presentation I've ever seen, said absolutely nothing, for what he said, lied, and he looked like a corpse. They had too much makeup on him, which that doesn't mean anything. But it was horrible. And you think people would be screaming, saying, get this guy out of office. He's going to kill every one of us, and that's exactly what he's doing. You take ask the man on the street. I'd like you to stop the man on the street for a minute. Just stop him. And the woman on the street, okay? And ask him a question about the Middle East. Behind me, I have a map of the Middle East. I have it on there so it reminds me of where we are and where they are. All right? Now, here we have the Middle East. And I'll bet if you ask anyone, man or woman on the street, to give any sort of description of the Middle East, they wouldn't come close to this. Not that they'd have to know exactly the square miles, but even any general idea of what that place is. Now, what's really interesting is that the country of Iraq, which is one of the largest countries, I haven't looked up the actual square miles, but the three largest countries are Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. And then Iraq is a sort of second in area. All right, so it's maybe the fourth largest country there in the Middle East. Do you know that that was not a natural border? That the British, the Western Allies, I love that term, the Western Allies actually drew up the boundaries for Iraq? And the people of Iraq did not want those boundaries drawn where they were after World War I. They didn't want that because they said, hey, we have Kurds in here. We don't get along with them. We have the Sunnis and Shiites, and you're putting us all together. There's trouble. But not us. No, we know better. Screw you. We want this way because this is the way we're going to control it. And could you imagine if someone came here and just decided, well, let's say Texas and Mexico are going to be one of the same. Florida and North Carolina, any state, California and Nevada are going to be one state. You say, who the hell are you to tell us what's going to be one state? But that's exactly what we have done in the Middle East. And they resent that. They resent someone, especially now someone who is 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 miles away, telling them what to do, telling them what's good for them. They know what's good for them. So we create this problem, then we try to control the problem, then we kill the people that disagree with the problem, and guess what? The United States looks good. We've got a serious systemic problem in the United States. We need to get rid of all the bums in office, every one of them. And the Republicans are the worst ones. You get Fox News, you get even the station that I was on, 1170 KFAQ. Horrible. Many of the talk show hosts wouldn't have, I was a talk show host there, they wouldn't have me even as a guest. They didn't want to hear that. They want to know the United States is out there and our soldiers and we should, God bless America. And what really bothers me is when the president or anyone, especially a public official, ends his speech by, God bless our troops and God bless America. You think God is blessing America? God is condemning America. And we will know that because we will falter and fall, because we will go bankrupt doing what we are doing. Now, these criminals in office, they're going to get away with it. They're going to know what's going to happen. They're preparing for it. It's suckers like you and me that are going to take the brunt of this entire system when it collapses. I should say we're going to get the brunt of the collapse of the entire system. Now, folks, we need to sit back and reflect a little bit, because when you ask people about questions such as, about subjects such as this, they don't want to talk about it. They just, those people are so bad. Don't ask them to think. Now, if you had to ask me if I felt positive about what's going on or optimistic about our future, or whether or not I felt that maybe we're not going to work out of this, I would say I am 99.9% pessimistic. We ain't ever going to work out of this. Because we don't even know who ISIL is. And if we were in the Middle East, we would be worse than these people. These people, I would say, these are not radicals in the Middle East. These people have been tolerant. They have lived under dictators which have been backed up, supported, and by Western powers who kill their own people. How long would you put up with that? Now, I should be on mainstream television. This is what the people need to hear. And if I sound angry, you have no idea how angry I am. Because the United States is no longer in any way, shape, or form home of the brave, land of the free. That is gone. Our Constitution is gone. And when I'm getting to the point where before a ball game they have, the Pledge of Allegiance, all this other stuff. Not the Pledge of Allegiance, the song. Oh, say can you see? It's a war song. What are we singing it for? How come we're not screaming? Now, what would I do if I was president? You ask, and I'm sure you're asking that in your own mind. I'll tell you what I would do. I would bring everyone home. My mother would be the very best Secretary of State if we needed one. We don't. But if we did have one, it would be my mother. She died a long time ago. Wonderful person. I mean, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You couldn't find a better person in the world. And she used to tell my father, if people would only stay home and mind their own business, the world would be a better place. My mother was a very simple person. I mean, very simple. She cooked. She cleaned. She didn't read the newspaper. She didn't drive. She never had a driver's license, never drove a car in her life. Brilliant woman. Introspective. Knew what was right. She knew what was right. And we have a president, we have a Congress, we have politicians, and we have people working for the government. What I don't understand is how people can have their daughters and their sons work for this rotten conglomeration, this mafia of a political organization. And people say, "Oh, I'm proud of my son. He worked for logistics in the government." Blah, blah, blah. You're proud? You're proud? You should be giving him a spanking. Say, what are you doing such a stupid thing for? Don't you know you are aiding and abetting these criminals in office? Our fighting men and women are aiding and abetting the criminals in Washington. Now, I have nothing against the people who are not individually, but I'm just talking philosophically. Don't get angry and say that I'm being disrespectful to our soldiers, because they actually believe they're doing the right thing and they're putting their life on the line for America, and I applaud that. But no one has sat down and spoke to them like I'm speaking to you now. Folks, we have a problem of monumental proportion. One which is seriously breaking the spirit and the very, very, very pretext of America. It decimates the Constitution, which is basically natural law. And yet no one is saying anything. You have to ask your question, who? If you want to identify who the radicals are. Is it ISIS or is it our own government? Instructing our men and women what to do. I mean, you really have to ask yourself that question. Who are the radicals? Who are the murderers? Who are the killers? Which group is inhumane? It's right up at 7 o'clock on the hour, and I think we're going to stop for a real quick break. So don't go away. We have much more to come. And let me set this thing up here all by myself here today. This is terrible. I hate this. All right, hold on a second. By the way, this is Liberty Talk Radio. I'm your host, Joe Cristiano. Our toll-free number is 888-773-4496. We still have our number of 652. Oh, boy. Hold on a second. 646-652-4620. That's our Blog Talk Radio number. Either number you can use to call in if you have any questions or comments to make. And hold on, and we'll be right back with you.
You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Political talk derived from a historical perspective. Not always palatable, but good food for thought. Pure libertarian talk with host Joe Cristiano. LibertyTalkRadio.com.
Express Test is your go-to company for on-site occupational health testing services. That's right, we said on-site. That means we will meet you at your facility for a free health and occupational safety consultation. Express Test specializes in hearing conservation, respiratory protection, and employee safety. We can help you establish viable programs tailored to your business and employee needs. For your free consultation, call 918-743-2929 or visit us at expresstest.com. That's 918-743-2929 or expresstest.com. Do you find yourself asking, what did you say? Aaron Cristiano of Ranch Acres Audiology has over 25 years of experience helping patients just like you.
So often a person can hear that people are talking plenty loud, but not understand it because it just isn't clear enough for them. That's because the clarity in our language comes from high-frequency consonants.
Call 918-749-7711. That's 918-749-7711.
Hi, this is Joe Cristiano. From time to time, we all need something to cheer us up during these discouraging times. And I have the perfect gift for you. The Obama dustpan is meant to impress and amuse anyone with a sense of humor. As you suspect, Obama's legacy is soon to join the dust pile of history, and this is a perfect reminder of the ravages of his failed administration. The gift comes complete with a broom and dustpan with the image of Obama in the costume of Uncle Sam, and the inscription reading, "Soon to join the dust heap of history." Order yours today, and don't forget your friends, only $5.99 each plus shipping and handling. Just go to ObamaDustpan.com.
You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio with host Joe Cristiano. Political talk derived from a historical perspective. Not always palatable, but good food for thought. Pure libertarian talk with host Joe Cristiano. LibertyTalkRadio.com.
We're back, folks. This is Joe Cristiano. You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio. And our toll-free number is 888-773-4496 or 646-652-4620. Finally got that down. I wanted to show you, since we're videotaping this segment, this is something new that we're videotaping our sessions now, and we are trying to figure out the proper lighting. We got new lighting in yesterday, and I hope it works out well. But here it is. You know, here's a little dustpan and a little broom and a picture of Obama in the Uncle Sam outfit, and it's $5.99 plus shipping and handling. Get one as a gift for your friends, especially your liberal friends who think he's doing a great job, you know? Well, in fact, you know, even conservatives today think he's doing a great job because they are agreeing with what he's doing. How many are protesting everything that was going on? No, I mean, they may protest some small item, but what about the Army? What about the you know, if we got rid of our Army and Navy, the offensive end of it, we would have no debt. We spend $1 trillion a year on that stuff. We could whittle that down to a mere $100 billion. A mere $100 billion. Just think if we had no really standing army. You know, we just had some technology to protect us from incoming missiles and stuff like that. That would be relatively small. Everyone is required to have a gun. I mean, who's going to attack us? They got to come all the way from over the Pacific Ocean. By the time they get here, they'd be dead. Anyway, Really, get this for your friends. The Obama Dustpan, ObamaDustpan.com, order yours today. I want to talk a little. The second item I had on the plate was debt. Do you realize that our currency is and if you've heard this before, a Ponzi scheme, and you know this. Do you realize that people today are going to the grocery store and purchasing food, the necessities of life, using a credit card? Now, some are using it as a matter of convenience. I know that. That's what I do. But for the most part, people are using a credit card because they just don't have the money. That is the condition. That is the financial condition of the United States. Now, I can spend hours on that and talk about cars being advertised, and they never tell you very rarely, I shouldn't say never, but they very rarely tell you the price, but they do tell you, $475 a month for the next, 8 years or whatever the case may be, 7 years. At 0% interest, which means you're buying the car for over a sticker price. And you're in debt forever, and they know they're going to repossess most of these cars anyway, so they're going to make out like a bandit. Some only say 3 years, which means that you're just renting the car for 3 years. They make a fortune, and they flip the car over again. But here's my point. I saw an ad on TV just the other day, and it was a credit card. I just don't recall what credit card it was. I caught the very end of it. And they were touting the fact that, get this credit card and you can go to your, use it in your supermarket. And they had people shopping using this new credit card. Because they know people don't have enough money to eat. Get a credit card. Now, here's my point. My point is that when you use a credit card and you don't have the money, where does the money come from? It's not free. It's not free money. The merchant submits it to the bank. Right? The bank pays the merchant, and there's a fee involved. So let's say it's a $100 bill, and they pay 2% or something like that, $2 in fees or whatever. But then where does the bank get the money from? It's like getting a loan from a bank. Well, the bank doesn't have the money. So the bank, the Federal Reserve, and a bank creates the money. Now, we created the money because someone went into debt. So our money today is debt, and our debt is rising. Depending on who you speak to, and there's all different ways of figuring this out, of calculating this. But if you take our real debt, that's unfunded debt. That means the stuff that we've promised to pay that we haven't paid yet in future years that we're committed to, plus the current year's debt. Figures range from 150 to $250 trillion. Now, let me say that again. 150 to $250 trillion. $250 trillion is a quarter of $1 quadrillion. By the way, last year was the first time I ever heard the term quadrillion. To give you an idea, $1 billion would be like going from the Earth to the moon. Quadrillion is like going from the Earth to Pluto. Now, $1 billion of debt is a lot for the United States. It would be a lot of debt. Now, the notional value of derivatives is somewhere around $1.25 quadrillion. That means if they were called in right now, everyone was called in, all the debt based on derivatives, all the bets, I should say, bets on derivatives, someone would have to cough up over $1 quadrillion. Of course, the world doesn't even come close because the whole world is in debt. They have no money. They couldn't cough up the $50. My point being is that we should be concerned about debt. Get out of debt. Put your money in hard assets, and I'm not going to get into that now. If you want to call somebody and find out what do I do, you call Andy Sutton at sutton-associates.net. He can help and steer you. But get out of debt. We think using a credit card is sort of like just shuffling money. No, it's creating money. Debt is creating money. Money is debt, and we are in debt. We are a nation that is drowning in debt, just like Europe, and we ain't getting out of it because there's not enough money to do this. And in the position we're in, I'll go back to my the first segment of this program. We go flying over some other country and ignite a smart bomb, $1 million. And, million, is nothing. Oh, geez, it's like, 3 cents. Oh, go ahead. Nah, don't worry. Throw a few of them. Over $1 million of crack. And we can't afford one. We do this all the time. Now, is this total insanity? Of course it's total insanity. Now, enough of that. I want to talk a little bit about Scotland because this is dear to my heart in a way. Scotland is an interesting. I've never been there. I've been to Ireland, but I haven't been to Scotland. I've never been to England either. Now, there was this referendum where people would vote if they wanted to secede from England. And of course, the people who thought no is because, what will happen to the debt and the ding, bada bang, bada boom. I'm 100%, not even 99, 100% for Scotland being their own nation. I believe in sovereignty. And, Scotland is not the same as England. England bought out or conquered Scotland and made it part of Great Britain. Great Britain. What a name. Great Britain. Great. That's like Great Joe here, And let me tell you why. The United States was intended to be a confederation of states. I talk about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, of course, the Lone Star State of Texas. They were supposed to be sovereign, and they are sovereign. Their constitutions say they're sovereign. And there was a big debate going on during the formation of our country of whether or not we would be basically individual countries. The states would be like individual countries, all bound together. In other words, a confederation of states, of sovereign states. And that's the way most people wanted it. That's the way it should have been. This would not have allowed a government to become abusive. Now, just think for a second that if we were a confederation of states and people in the state of Texas or the state of Oklahoma, any state, would say, we don't agree with the United States bombing the bejesus out of other people, getting in debt for billions of dollars, we're out. That program, Shark Tank, they present a product to a group of people, and the guy says, they evaluate it, they say something like, well, it looks like you have no marketing plan. There's not a big market for your program. I'm out, And so what in fact Oklahoma or Texas or whatever state would do is say, I'm out. You see my point? My point is that you would have a choice. Now, let's say one state enacted a law that you thought was all wrong. Well, you can move from that state to another state, become a citizen of that state, become a citizen of Kansas instead of a citizen of New York. And New York wants to be liberal and spend all the money and have all the slums they want. Go, girl, go. Do whatever you want. We don't care. Because it's not coming out of our pocket, it's coming out of your pocket. By making this, however, a nation state, the way our Constitution is written, if New York screws up, Oklahoma pays for it. So I am for secession. I can't wait for Texas, and then Texas will do this someday. We'll say, we've had enough, we're out. The day Texas does that, I'm moving to Texas. I'm from Texas. I lived there for a few years. The day Texas says, I'm out, I'm packing up, that same day I'm out of here. And we should be doing that. And this is what our state representatives should be doing. Our U.S. representatives, I guess you should say, that go to Washington, I'm out. No, I'm not abiding by that. We're protesting. We're not paying a dime. But we can't do that because we're not a confederation of states. We're one nation state. So what I say about the United States, I apply to Scotland. And I think I was so excited. I wanted to see Scotland approve their independence. It would have been difficult. But they could have their own. Now, they could do whatever they want. They want to make it, and I understand they wanted to make it like a socialist country. But let me tell you something. They would have learned real quickly that that was a big mistake. And then they would have changed. They want to have free this and free that and a minimum wage of some ridiculous high. Fine, go. Go, girl, go, as they say. But don't take anyone with you. And if people say, hey, this is a socialistic state, I'm not going to work for everybody else. I'm out. You see what I mean? I'm out. I'm moving from Scotland. I'm going to England. So Scotland will have no people left in it, and they'd have to suck wind. And in sucking wind, they'd have to invite the people to come back, but people won't come back until they mended their ways. Now, we can't mend our ways because we are part of the problem. We are contributing to the problem. We are giving our men and women, our children, to the government so they can teach them how to kill. We are part of that problem. We cannot say, Constitution, we're out. We can, but boy, it's going to be difficult. So understand that I'm really with the Scottish secession. I thought it was a great move. And I hope we see this again and again and again and again. But England is not the only country. You'll find this is a movement around the world. China has like 5 different major areas, all totally different. People that are sort of like Mongolian, not really Oriental, if you will. And I know that's an inappropriate word, but, I don't know what else to call, I don't know what else to call them, categorize them. I don't mean that disrespect. And you have different peoples and totally different cultures. And they're all looking to secede from the mother country. And they should. Even small countries, Portugal and Spain, they have provinces that want to be free. And that smallness tells you something. It gives you control over what you're doing. You don't feel like you're one person, like the United States, out of 318 million. And you say, why should I vote? Why should I do anything? I don't mean anything. But if you were a state, a nation state in and of itself, not a nation state, but a sovereign state in and of itself, you have control because you can always say, hey, I don't like California. I'm moving to Nevada. They have a better deal there. and you create competitiveness within the country, and the entire country becomes more prosperous. But we can't think that far because we sing songs and stuff like that. God bless America, all this other stuff, all this garbage. Anyway, enough of that. I have a few other subjects here I wanted to touch on. You know, I love football. I really do. I love football, and I have my favorite teams and all that. I try not to watch too much of it. I have, recovering from open heart surgery, so I'm not as active as I used to be. Hopefully, I'll be more active, in the next couple of months. But I wind up sitting, in front of the boob tube watching too much football. Not that much, but still a lot more than I used to. And college football, I love watching. I have my favorite teams. I don't know the colleges, but I for some reason, through the years, favored one team over another, maybe because I like the color of their uniform. But college football really bothers me in a way. You know how many of those guys that are on the field that are going to prestigious colleges that can't read? That bothers me. They're supposed to be institutions of higher learning. And yet the most important thing about their school, the important aspect of their entire education is their football team. Ask any of the students. I know I have friends that, in University of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and whatever. I mean, Rabbit fans. I mean, just nuts. El Nutto fans. They never talk about the school in light of their education and what the school had to offer and how they were afforded the opportunity to work in a certain place because of the type of education that they received from that particular school. But let me tell you something, they will talk up their football team until they're blue in the face. And yet the people on the field major in phys ed. Most of them do. And then when they interview these players, they can hardly put two words together or two sentences together to make any sense. Now, I just cannot believe a college professor would allow anyone or could allow anyone to pass a course that can't even speak properly. Hey, yeah, man, we got to do that. Yeah, you got to go do that. Yeah, you know what I mean? We got a team there. We got to go do that. If they can't put a couple of sentences together, how the hell do they pass any of these classes? Anyway, that's my complaint about the school system. I want to get back to our currency. People argue whether or not our currency is worth anything, and hard currencies are a thing of the past. If there's ever a confiscation of our currency or a devaluation of our currency, there's nothing you can do about it. Let me give you an example. This came to mind just 2 days ago. Let's say you had a copper pipe. It's just, 2 feet long, 10 of them. Let's say it weighed X number of pounds, pipe, right? Made out of copper. How much would, and let's say the going price of copper is $4 a pound, right? And you had 10 pounds, you had $40, right? Now, let's say you had $40 worth of copper pipe, and someone else you knew had $40 in paper cash, 4 $10 bills, or 2 20s. Take your choice. And the government came in and said, sorry, we have to devalue the currency. You're getting 4-to-1 or 10-to-1 or whatever ratio on our new currency. So the person who had $40 now has only, let's say it's only 4-to-1. Let's make it really light duty. So a person now, instead of having $40, has only $10, been devalued. The person who had the $40 worth of pipe, of copper pipe, what happened to the valuation of that pipe? You think that pipe now is only worth $10? No. It's still worth $40 of the new currency. So this person has to pay 4 times the amount for that pipe. You say, well, Joe, why are you talking about pipes and money, ba-bing, bada-bang, bada-boom? Well, that's because if you look at a hard currency, whether it be silver, gold, or copper nickel, like our nickels are today, only currency in the world, by the way, only currency in the world that has intrinsic value, you realize that the government cannot take that away. Oh, they can ask you to hand it in, but no one would do so in the event of a currency crisis. No one's going to give up their wealth, what vestiges of wealth, whatever they have left. So let's take the pipe and convert the pipe, change the pipe. Instead of pipe, we have copper pennies. Let's say we have the pre-1982 or 83, depending on, there's a certain number of copper and zinc in 82. Prior to 82 pennies, and you had rolls of pennies that are 95%, that used to be 95% copper. And you had all your money in pennies, all of it. You had $500,000, all in pennies you had in the storehouse. And the government came by and says, currency is not worth anything, it's 1 tip. What do you think would happen to those pennies? You think people would devalue the copper in those pennies? No. Now, the government wouldn't allow you to reevaluate the pennies, but boy, the black market would suck up those pennies in a New York minute. What about the nickels? The current nickels with that 75% copper and 25% nickel. And the nickel is 4%, 3 or 4 times more expensive than the copper. What do you think happened to the nickels? So you can imagine if someone had all of their wealth in copper pennies and nickels. Now, they're not going to appreciate. You're not going to make money like you would make in the stock market or derivatives or whatever. But in the event of a currency crisis, you would always have the upper hand. And that's why hard money is so important. Because if coins were still silver and gold and copper nickel, then your money would be truly independent of the government. It would be your money, your wealth. And the government took that away from you. The government took that away. And now you could put your money in the stock market. That could collapse any minute, at any time, at any time. But they can't take your pipe. They can't say, you have copper pipe, you got to hand it in. Nope, it's my pipe. I can sell this pipe now, not for $40, but $40 new, which is 4 times the amount of what it used to be. And that's how you protect yourself and you preserve your wealth. Well, folks, we're about out of time right now. I want to thank, let me see, I think I have a closing here that I'd like to read. I'd like to thank thank you for listening in. I'd like to thank our sponsors for their financial support. I'd like to thank you for listening in. You can further the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends, but let us hear from you. Our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. I'm going to play our little, this is my son's song, and he wrote this for me. There we go. Remember, you're either allowing your liberties to be taken away, or you're striving to protect them. Folks, unfortunately, there is no middle ground. With that, until next time, I'm Joe Cristiano, America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly in talk radio. And this is Liberty Talk Radio. Stay well. Stay tuned.